All right, are we back on? Are we back? Let me know if we're back. Okay. Yay. We're back. You know, in this modern technology of this world that we live in and all the things that we talk about on this show, how is it that there are still places that are just literally right down the road from where you live where the internet is horrible? I have to have everybody in the house off the internet just to get on here tonight. Let's try this again. All right. So as you can see, and I hope I'll make it tonight. We are operating off a hotspot over here because Verizon decided that they did not want to give us internet out here. So whatever. But it's a sweet tea, by the way. As you can see, I am not in my studio. I am on the front porch of my father-in-law's house. I will give you an update on that as we get closer into the show, further on the show. But right now we need to talk about what's going on in the world. Because literally, this is no exaggeration. This week, actually today, and very significant, you're going to see in just a minute why it's very significant, the first day of the equinox, the fall equinox, the first day of fall, nothing is by chance. The world changed. The world changed, and there are going to be repercussions from what happened today for generations to come if the Lord tarries his return. So let's just watch a couple of videos here to let us know exactly what we're talking about. This was sent to me by my daughter this week. She said, "Dad, have you seen this?" And I watched this a couple of days ago, and I knew about this, but I remembered when this was coming, but I forgot that it was coming up this weekend. So let's listen to what some of these Republican senators, this was September 17th is when it actually came out. What is today? Today is the 22nd. So just a few days ago, but it was sent to me a couple of days ago. Let's listen to what these guys are saying. All these are Republican senators that were trying to bring awareness to what was going to go down yesterday and today.
Here today for our press conference on what I describe as the most important issue that's getting the least amount of attention relative to its importance in our country. And like many other issues, we're going to be deciding on November 5 what kind of a country we're going to be, and it applies to this issue as well. President Trump had withdrawn the U.S. from the WHO, and of course the Biden administration, like every other disastrous decision they made, reversed those policies when the Biden-Harris administration got in charge. Well, later this week, the UN is going to hold a, quote, summit for the future, and they're going to produce, this is right from their website, an intergovernmentally negotiated, action-oriented pact for the future with a chapter on transforming global governance. Ascending beyond the powers being sought by its subordinate agency, the WHO, the UN is seeking even broader and more powerful authority, as you will hear a lot about today. The Biden-Harris administration apparently intends to fully support the surrender and compliance of the U.S. to the UN in these endeavors. They are aligned with the international globalists that hate America, that hate the Constitution, that hate our founders, that hate our founding Judeo-Christian principles, and they want America to become like the rest of the world. They don't want us to be subordinate to or governed by our Constitution. No, they want to.
By the way, you're not freaking out. Nothing's wrong with your internet. Something seriously wrong with my internet tonight, but I had to speed that up because I'm going to find out if I don't speed it up sometimes, and if you'll notice the color, I have to change the color, all this kind of stuff. I get hit with not copyright strikes, but copyright hits. So just bear with me. Maybe I'll bump it down so it won't be quite as fast. I'll do it right here, 1.25. But let's finish here what this guy says here, and then I'm going to show you. I'm going to read some things to you tonight to let you know exactly what went down.
America to be subordinate to and governed by the UN, the World Health Assembly, and the WHO. And in fact, they intend to join with others at the UN summit this week to vote to award additional powers to the UN Secretary General. They seek to facilitate the evolution of the UN from an international cooperative body to an international governing body. These powers would be triggered by any one of a number of so-called global emergencies, whether it was a so-called climate emergency, a health emergency, a cyber emergency.
We've been telling you this was coming. Remember when they tried to do the World Health Organization pandemic treaty? We covered it extensively here. It was going to give powers to the WHO to override constitutional sovereignty of a nation and basically take over the nation if they had to. So it's just really, really crazy what this means, but it got voted down. Well, then here we are. This is the end around that they're doing, and this is what it is. It's to basically take any kind of national emergency that they want to declare, not just a medical emergency, but climate emergency, any other kind of emergency, and use that to control you on another level.
Emergency or a gun violence emergency, whatever that's supposed to be, a financial emergency or whatever they deem appropriate. And the Biden-Harris administration is in full agreement with the UN and the WHO on efforts to place us under their authority and to require such things as their international health regulations, including the surveillance of U.S. citizens, the censoring of dissenting views, and much more. The American people didn't vote for this, and they don't support this. And it's up to the people's representatives, that's us gathered here today, to have a responsibility to expose this and to reject this. The U.S. should defund the WHO again. We should withdraw from the WHO. Any agreements with the WHO or the UN should require Senate approval or disapproval. And a
All right, so he goes on, and each one of the senators go on to speak, sharing their thoughts on it. Well, obviously, it didn't do any good because, I mean, I'm not saying it didn't do any good. It was good that they brought awareness to it, but nobody did anything when it was ultimately said and done because it got passed today. Well, what got passed today? Well, all the leaders of the world gathered at the United Nations. Now, the United Nations is about to, the United Nations is about to celebrate their 80th year. They're going into their 80th year this coming year. And they have been pushing a lot of agendas. Now, when you start saying things like Agenda 2030, and I'm going to say them on this channel tonight because I had to restart only on YouTube, so I'm not anywhere else because they got me kicked off. But I'm going to say this, and that's going to get me a blue box at the bottom. It's going to get me fact-checked, all of that, and it may get me even more than that. But I'm going to say it because you need to hear this. This is about Agenda 2030. This is not just about what they called it, the summit for the future, all these kind of things that they worded it today. This is about Agenda 2030. What we have been telling you, Sandy and I both, and I have been on separate shows and even with guests, we've been telling you, listen, this is not just talking points. This is not just conspiracy theorists out there trying to pump you up. There is a 2030 coming. We are in 2024. Blink your eyes, snap your fingers, we will be in 2025. Do the math. 2030 is coming quickly. There are 17 sustainable goals that they put out years back for 2030 to be in place by 2030. Well, you and I both know that there is a huge monkey wrench in that problem. That monkey wrench is called Donald Trump. That monkey wrench is called, depending on what side you on, Orange Man Cometh, okay? And he is the one that was just what we just played to you, pulled us out of the World Health Organization, threatened to pull us out of the United Nations, and even NATO, if people didn't start doing their own fair share. Now, this is what happened today. Just so you'll know what happened today at the United Nations. The United Nations had every party that is a part of it in the hall today to do the vote. The UN Summit of the Future is what it's called. The UN Summit of the Future aims to bring global governance, quote, back from the brink. Whenever you see quotations, these are quotations from people who actually said these things from the podium at the United Nations. As the United Nations UN Summit for the Future began Sunday morning, delegates from across the 193 states adopted the Pact for the Future. Listen to this now. Listen to the wording. They adopted something called the Pact. That means a contract for the future. They also adopted something called the Global Digital Compact. And they adopted something called the Declaration on Future Generations. Now listen to this, y'all. This was all put together in one swoop. This was voted on and put into, I don't want to call the word law, but put into practice, authority, whether it's rightfully given or not. The United Nations think they have it now, and this vote lasted 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, y'all, the United Nations agreed on 3 major things today. while we're being distracted by all these different things, these goofy things that we see on the news, cats and dogs and who's eating what, all this kind of stuff, here's the reality. The United Nations, the global governance power of this world, came together and 193 member states adopted the Pact for the Future, the Global Digital Compact, and the Declaration of Future Generations. Underscoring this summit is a sense of desperation to save the global governance movement from distrust, lack of credibility, and these are the words that they use, outdated processes. According to Sunday's agreed upon Pact for the Future, the UN is scrambling to make sure they can deliver on Agenda 2030, which works to undermine any country and their independence by choking off their economies, destroying agriculture, and taking ownership of the land. The plan is to enforce a pact that will allow them to govern under a variety of circumstances as determined by the United Nations and indefinitely if the UN so desires. This is the plan B to the WHO pandemic power grab that has failed. This is the plan B to the pandemic treaty. This expansion is to meet the objectives is labeled UN 2.0. This is what the director of the United Nations said today from the podium. This is the United Nations 2.0. This includes granting the Secretary General increased decision-making abilities and more authority during public health emergencies. Almost 6 years ago, on September 25th, 2018, President Trump addressed the United Nations Assembly, thundering, quote, "America will always choose independence and cooperation over global governance, control, and domination." Y'all, this is why two different people now have pointed a pew-pew at the former president. Thank God they have not succeeded. But they do not want him in power because they know he is the monkey wrench. He is the monkey wrench. Y'all, it gets even crazier. This went down today. Now, some of you follow this lady here, and you know a lot about. Maybe some of you you're going to be introduced for the first time. My wife loves her. It's Dr. Celeste Solom, I think, or how you say her name. But she was very troubled by this, and I want you to hear her words, and what she's saying is true. Listen to this.
I have some very critical and very disturbing news for all of us. I was just monitoring the UN Summit for the Future, and despite opposition by communist, socialist, and fascist countries saying that the summit and the pacts, these legal instruments to take over the world, were not by global consensus and they opposed them. They did not have they did not believe that they wanted an amendment inserted into the various legal mechanisms that they would retain their sovereignty. North Korea, Iran, and Russia were all against it. They were pushing for a amendment in this Pact for the Future. Unfortunately,
Hey, I'm sorry about my audio. Maybe this will help a little bit more holding it. So yeah, sorry about that, and I'll adjust the gain on it next time. I just can't do it right now. So this is the best I can do right now. So I hope that you at least could hear me, and maybe this is better.
I have very sad news to share with you that in under 5 minutes, the UN passed all of its whole entire legal instruments to take over the world. So as of now, we have no idea. This will throw the state of the world in absolute chaos. If you need anything, I would do it today. Be prepared
Wow.
that they did pass the digital compact.
Now I want you to listen to this because this is true. I verified what she said. The digital compact also got passed in 5 minutes on the floor of the United Nations, and it basically forces the world. I don't think they can actually force the world right now, but they are believing that they're going to have the power to force the world to go to CBDCs, digital currency.
Which means that they will be going over to a digital currency. Our banks may be frozen. If you have any items you need, I would go do it today. Make sure that you're topped off on whatever you need to be topped off on. I'm not being alarmist. I have been covering the proceedings and the leading up to this since the middle of July. I've been doing it in the Lair of the Dragon, in the Color of Evil, and now the UN obliterates all boundaries. I knew this was coming because they basically were obliterating every boundary that God has established into our bodies, all the laws of nature, physics, chemistry, biology, um, time, space. They were at it. So actually, this vote took place on April 8th, which was
Listen to
very
this.
interesting timing because they did it during the solar eclipse. Oftentimes, evil people will do these things, like Haman in the Bible went to the astrologers and they picked this certain celestial pattern because it was propitious for the annihilation of the Jews. And whether you read the Bible or not, during COVID, they did the exact same thing. The scientists and technologists had to roll out the you know what on a certain day because of a certain alignment of stars and planets that would amplify what they were rolling out. Now, today, I do believe that it is the fall equinox. Am I concerned about this critical decision by the United Nations to take over the planet on this particular day? Because in the ancients, whether it's the ancient Egyptians, whether it's the um, occultists, and other various uh, evil people, have believed that on the fall equinox is the gate to the gods, and the UN, by its decision overriding the different countries'
Wow.
belief that they wanted amendments to protect their sovereignty of their respective countries, they do believe that they are gods. And so this thing is going to slip really fast. If I'm a little bit rattled, I mean, I couldn't believe that in under 5 minutes they made this
5 minutes.
decision, even though the real decision was made on April 8th, the day of the solar eclipse.
Wow. 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 So yes, of course the United Nations is very demonic, and the United Nations, of course, is the foundation for the one world government, the beast system that has to have digital currency that no man can buy or sell unless he has a mark on his hand or on his forehead, has to be put in place. We are seeing it, y'all. We are seeing it. This is no longer talking about maybe this means this, maybe this means that. No, we are seeing it. Now, I want to point out one other thing that's very, very interesting is that you heard her say this, that there was an amendment offered today. This is crazy. Look at the people that offered this amendment. First, let me show you this right here. The Summit for the Future motion to take no action on a proposed amendment on the Pact for the Future has been voted on. Motion adopted, applause in the room. As a result, the UNGA will now move on to take action on the draft resolution of the Pact. Now, I don't know how well you can see this. 143 in favor, 7 against, and 15 abstained. Now, what does that mean? That means 143 voted in favor of not adding the amendment. Only 7, basically, by voting against it, was saying we are for this amendment, and then 15, of course, was abstaining. Now look, when you zoom in, you will see America said, over on the right-hand side, United States, United Kingdom, they said no amendment. Now, the interesting thing is this. This is the amendment. I actually have the actual document. This is the amendment. The Pact for the Future. Look who submitted this amendment, y'all. This is crazy. Belarus, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Iran, Islamic Republic of, Nicaragua, Russia, Russian Federation, and the Syrian Arab Republic. This is who had submitted. Listen to what the communists and the Muslims in many of these terrorist countries tried to get done. We affirm that the United Nations shall be driven by intergovernmental decision-making process, and that the United Nations and its systems shall not intervene in matters which are essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of any state as provided by Article 2, Section 7 of the Charter of the United Nations, and request the Secretary General to evaluate the United Nations, its funds and programs on compliance with its duty, as well as duplication of efforts, in particular as a result of the adoption of this pact, and submit to the General Assembly at its 80th session proposal on avoiding such duplication while achieving maximum resource efficiency. That's legal garb for, we are saying to you, United Nations, we want to submit an amendment that says ultimately you do not have authority to override our Constitution. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. These countries that don't even have a constitution are saying to United Nations that they have no right to override sovereign rights of a country. In the United States, the United Kingdom, all of Europe, they all voted against that amendment. I'm doing the best I can with the volume. I still see people saying low volume. Sorry. See this little microphone right here? Right before I went live, I had an issue with the gain on it. So sorry. I'll have that fixed for the next time. So I hope that it's at least where you can at least hear what I'm saying. I'm doing the best I can. I don't want to scream to max it out and make it bad. But here's what I'm trying to say, is that they are the one that submitted the amendment. And the amendment was turned down, and then it was voted in. Y'all, this is crazy. This is just crazy, crazy, crazy. So what do you think about it? I want to know what your thoughts are. I'm going to go back and read the live chat. I'm going to go back and look at the comment section down below. We're only on YouTube tonight because we got kicked off right off the very bat, and we're having issues with volume. Obviously, some people are saying that. Okay, people are saying it's fine now. Maybe the person who's saying it's low volume was watching it behind a little bit before I took the microphone off and started holding it. But okay, all right, see that. Okay, it's looking good right now. So here's what I want to say to you. A couple quick things. You need to know that your heart is right with God, because this is a kingdom issue. Okay? I don't know where you stand with God, but listen to me. This is a kingdom of God issue. What happened at the United Nations today is a kingdom of God issue. It is an end times Bible prophecy situation here. This is not just some Bible prophecy preacher on here trying to sell another book or try to whatever, or get you to watch my TV show or something like that. I ain't down to anybody out there. I'm just trying to say this is not hype. I'm telling you what happened at the United Nations today is the seed bed for the Antichrist system. Chances are, this is what I was thinking about right before I went online. Chances are, whoever the Antichrist is, and I don't know who he is, and I don't think I'll ever know who he is clearly, I believe he was in that room. I believe he was either in that room, or probably more likely than he might have even been behind the wall, watching it all go on. I believe the Antichrist was in that room because what happened so quickly today, in 5 minutes, 3 separate covenants, global governance covenants happened, including public health emergencies, including power to override sovereign governments was enacted, and a digital compact was enacted to force CBDCs and digital money on the earth. All of that happened, y'all, in 5 minutes. The World Health Organization thought they was going to get their pandemic treaty. It got voted down. So they went back to the United Nations and said, hey, let's turn this thing to our good instead of going over there and crying over spilt milk because we lost our power. Let's just get more power. How about we just combine what we wanted to do with you and let's get more power? That's what happened today. The United Nations, now I'm not saying we got to give it to them. And I think that's why they want to take out Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is not going to agree with this. I'm just telling you right now, he's not going to agree to this. And they know that. They know that time is running out for them. That's why all the things that are happening globally right now are happening, because they know time is running out. They have looked at the polling and they know that he is winning. And they're knowing that unless something major happens, whatever that October surprise is going to be, probably going to be multiple ones this year, to possibly sway this thing, whatever else. I don't want to say nothing else about what might actually happen on November 5th behind closed doors. That's all I'm going to say. But the reality is this: if it ends up being like what they're probably looking, they're polling and seeing, it is going to be too big to rig. And I think they know that. And they realizing, man, we're going to get this done. We got to get it done now, because we're not going to be able to get it done then. All right, so that's the situation there. This is a biblical perspective thing that you got to look at right now. You got to look through a biblical worldview, and you got to see what happened at the United Nations today. It is not the United Nations. It is the demonic nations. Okay, this is the coming together under the guise of this umbrella of unity, unity, but they have systematically torn down every godly principle that anybody that has any kind of relationship with God believes in. So get ready, y'all. I'm telling you. Oh, there it goes again. Hot man. Nope, I'm telling you right now, none of us, including me, none of us have any clue of what is coming. I'm telling you, the next few years, and by the way, if he does win, it's going to get even crazier, because they're going to know he's got 4 years and he ain't got to worry about running for re-election again. Y'all, it's going to be an insane world to live in, but we get to live in it. God chose us to live in it, so we're not going to crawl in the corner and hide and weep and cry. We're going to be actively involved. Now, to another two quick things that I want everybody to know about. Number one, if you have not already done this, I need you to go to my website, LarryRagland.com, and there is a video that is pinned to the top of my page. Now, it doesn't go back to this channel, but it goes to Charisma Magazine. And let me show it to you right now. This is it right here. This is the video. They did an interview with me. Let's play the first few seconds of this.
Me and you are going to talk. I'm going to tell you what I think about you right now. And I just began to tell God things that I never thought I'd ever say to God. How could you do this to me? I have given you everything. I have sacrificed everything. I have done without. I have not been able to do what other people do because of you. And I've given everything to you. And here I am. You won't even heal me. I preach healing. I preach deliverance. I preach prosperity. You've forsaken me. And I heard the Lord say to me, now are you done telling me about me? Let me tell you about you.
Pastor Larry Ragland, it's great to have you here on Charisma. We had the opportunity to meet.
So I'm also going to put it down when the live is over with in the description of this show, where you can just direct link there. I need you to go watch there. Go watch it, because if you like the big picture and you pray for us, for God to use us and open doors to happen for us. This is a great opportunity for people, more and more people, to learn about the Big Picture family. He does, at the end of the show, he gives us plenty of time to really talk about this channel and what we're trying to do here with the Big Picture. So go watch it, because the more views that we can get, faster we can get them to build up, the more opportunity they're going to say, I need you to come back on. I need you to come on back on and talk about World War III, about Nephilim, about UFOs, about end times prophecy, and all these kind of things. So it's up to the viewers to let them know that this might be something that a guest that somebody might want to watch again. So you can either go to the link that's not there now, but it will be as soon as this is over with. I'll put it down there, or you can just go to LarryRagland.com or .tv, and you'll see it right there at the top. All right, so the other thing I want to update everybody on is the reason why I'm not in my studio, and the reason why I'm not in my home, and I'm sitting outside on the front porch of my father-in-law's house. Many of you know my father-in-law is battling stage 4 cancer, and he's he's at the last moments of his life, and we thought that that today was going to be the day, and it may still be the day. The evening. He is just about ready to go be with the Lord, and he is such a blessing. I mean, he's one of the greatest men of God. He is the greatest man of God I've ever known in my life. He's one of our founding elders of our church. My wife and I planted our church 30 years ago. We've been pastoring the same church for 30 years. Pastored another church for 3.5 years. Before that, he was an elder with us then. He was actually the first father figure that I ever had in my life. He was the first man to ever emulate what a true man of God is supposed to be. And I told him that a few days ago before he took the turn where he's no longer communicating with us. He laid his hands upon me. He prayed for me. He blessed me. He blessed this ministry, and he blessed our family. And he's just such a precious man. I mean, I really, really, really believe that he's the example for all of us. Man, his son, my brother-in-law, spoke a prayer over him today that was just absolutely amazing. And one of the things he said to him is, he said, Dad, he said, I'm so thankful that I had a mom and dad that just lived it every day in front of us and taught me how to have a legacy to pass down to my children. Everything I am and everything I do with my kids, I learned from you, Dad. And you can go and you can be with Mama, and you can go and be with the Lord, knowing that we're every day we're going to finish what you started in us. Oh, it was so powerful. But maybe sometime tonight, maybe sometime tomorrow, he'll be with the Lord. We don't know. It could be a couple of days, but it's going to be a matter of time. So pray for our family. And of course, I know how much you love Sandy, my wife. For those that follow this channel, she's been so strong. She's been taking care of her dad basically 24/7 for several days now, over almost 10 days straight. Way before that, doing it so much for him. But I'm talking about nonstop here in the house. Her and her brother have been the primary caregivers. So it's been hard on her. It's been difficult. She's a very strong woman, but boy, she loves her daddy so much. So be praying for her, and we will update you when the Lord takes him home. I believe the angels are already in the room. Remember what it says. This is one of the things I love about Scripture. It talks about the rich man and Lazarus. Many of you know that story. And the Bible says the rich man had all these things in the world, but he didn't have God. And he was a greedy man. And when he died, it just simply says this. Go back and look in the Bible. It says, and when the rich man died, he was buried. That's all it says. And of course, we know the rest of the story where he cries out in pain and suffering and torment. But then it says when this poor man, Lazarus, who was just kind and loving, sitting there at the gate begging for food, but yet he loved the Lord, it says, the rich man died and was buried, but the angels from heaven came and carried Lazarus into the presence of God. So we're going to get one of two things. we're either going to be buried, we're just going to die and be buried and go down. Our angels are coming in the room, and they're carrying us in the presence of God. Angels are in that room right now waiting on the time for God to say, bring him home. And I hope that for you, that one day, angels will be carrying you home as well. Thank you for joining me on this special night. Sandy's such a trooper. She said, I said, baby, I don't got to do this show. She said, get out there. Our big picture family needs to know what happened today. We'll come out there and interrupt you if something happens. So that's how much we love you. That's how much we believe in you. So God bless you guys. Thank y'all for coming on the show tonight and helping me. This has helped me, and I know it's helped Sandy as well. So you guys are a blessing, and you know how we always close. If you're new here, we got several new people I can see in there. Maybe not. You're like, I don't know if I'll ever be back on this channel again. But hey, we do the best we can, and we are who we are. We're not apologizing for it. We ain't woke, but we are certainly awake. See you tomorrow night, Lord willing, on The Big Picture, 7 Central. God bless.
Help us build the big picture family. We're on a mission to wake up the world to what is really going on. All you have to do is go to our website at LarryRagland.com and make a one-time gift, or you can become a monthly partner. Any amount is a blessing and an encouragement to us. While you're there, make sure you get a copy of our book, I See Greatness in You. Browse our merchandise store, connect with us on our social media links, and join our mailing list. We appreciate it. And remember, we ain't woke, but we are certainly awake.